people do to help? I know you all have several fundraisers annually.
Right.
So can you speak briefly about the fundraisers? And then outside of just those annual events, what can people do on a consistent level?
Okay. Our two biggest fundraisers we've had our annual walkathon. We just finished our 8th annual walkathon in June.
Yes.
And our 3rd annual non-event, our Thanksgiving Gala non-event, where you can buy a non-table or non-tickets and so on, is we're still getting a little monies trickling in from that. That was on November 24th. And I know we've had IUN and their HYPE program, HYPE.
Okay.
And Damian Smith he's from IUN, and he also works at Gary Career Center, WGVE Radio, and so on, has done a family basketball night. I can't remember when the date was. I think it was in the summertime. And it's a smaller fundraiser, but it's a good way of getting the word out there and getting families involved.
Right.
And then all the little ones, we have people that give monthly checks from $25 a month to $100 a month. We'll have people giving large donations now at Christmas time, okay, before the end of the year. We have churches who maybe on their one Sunday a month they'll collect food or personals for us. So all of those ways are ways people can get involved. Monetary donations, I mean, I would say that's the biggest part of what we get. Of course, we get grants. We have a grant writer person. Through the support services we get at Ancilla Systems in Hobart. That's our parent organization. And they do wonderful work with keeping us afloat with computer technology and grant writing, fund development, that kind of thing. So personal items, food, monetary donations, ongoing monetary donations, ongoing partnerships, not just a one-time thing. We have a program called 52 Weeks. Of course, right now at Christmas and Thanksgiving, people want to give you stuff. And we're trying to tell people we're very grateful for it. Thank you very much. Could we stretch that out a little bit through where the thin times are, where sometimes we've even had to close our doors because we didn't have enough food on the pantry shelves or enough personals to give out? If that could be kind of spread out over the months.
For some sustainability.
Some sustainability. And that's where those partnerships with local churches have been coming in wonderfully. If they do a collection once a month for us and bring it over, that's the kind of continuity that really helps us sustain the work.
Wow, that's great. And I heard in the newsletter about the Woman Aid Fund. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, one of our wonderful volunteers, and also a classmate of mine from Andrean, started this. She heard about it. It really started out east. It was another person's idea.
Okay.
But she brought it back over here, and it's worked wonderfully for us. What it is basically is a core group of women get together, and then they invite 5 or 10 people. And it's a bunch of women getting together in somebody's house or someplace, and they each bring in, say, $35. Some people have written checks for way more than that. And you bring maybe personal items if they decide to do it that way also. And then you bring a dish. The hostess provides the entree, and everybody else brings one of their favorite dishes. And you sit and you talk and you eat and you network. And then I get a chance to talk about Sojourner Truth House a little bit and tell them how the last monies we garnered from the last Women Aid was spent. And so to date, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6 that we've had, South County and Miller, and we've made over $10,000 that way over the years. So it's really wonderful. And some volunteers have come forth from that. People have really come on board with us once they hear what we do.
That's great.
It's just a wonderful way of doing it.
That is great. And as director at Sojourner Truth House, can you tell me what are some of your day-to-day activities?
Opportunities like this.
And how you remain sane from day to day.
Okay, well, things like this, for example, speaking sometimes at churches, and if I can't do it, some of our volunteers have done it, some of our other staff members have done it, a wonderful job. I try my best to lead a very growing and diverse staff, so that's always a learning experience for me. I do case management. As soon as I have to quit case management, I'm out of there because that's where I get my energy and passion. So I have a caseload just like some of my other staff members do. That's where I took the woman today to see her a possible apartment. financial things, you know, ideas for grants and statistics, all those type of things I do. A lot of praying, a lot of...
I'm sure.
And to stay sane, I mean, seriously, the praying
pray.
part, I take an hour every morning to myself where God and I have our first cup of coffee together and just stay quiet and calm. And then the sisters in the house, we pray together for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. And then a lot of laughing, a lot of relaxing. I like to read. When I can, I like to walk. And it is energizing for me to once in a while walk out of my office and there's the whole place buzzing with activity. This staff member's with this client, this staff member or volunteers with this client's over here. There's laughter, there's tears, there's kids running around, there's phones ringing. Things are happening in people's lives that are positive as best we can. So that in itself gives me great energy and passion. So.
Very good. Well, you answered one of my other questions already. Very good. So I wanted to speak. I heard you at an event. You were speaking to a group of college students about policy and the things that you all are able to do with the women that you help, but then the things that policy prevent from happening. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Okay. I could speak a lot about that, but
yes.
When you do this kind of, we're the Band-Aid stuff. We do the Band-Aid stuff. But part of our mission statement is about advocacy, whether it be going with a client or speaking for a client on the phone when they're not getting the service that they need, or whether it be, such as in October, early October, we were invited by Representative Charlie Brown through a meeting set up by Senator Earlene Rogers to go down and testify at the State Mental Health Commission. And we told the story, well, I didn't, Robin Beasley, our program service coordinator, she told the stories, I kind of set the scene. She told the story of several very severely delusionally mentally ill women whose lives cannot be changed because of our laws about mental illness. And that their rights, they somehow have a right to walk around the streets or be violent or not take care of their personal hygiene and so on. That's their right. And we wanted to say to them, we need to look at New York's law, Kendra's law. We need to look at Laura's law in California and come up with a law in Indiana that I suppose you could say it forces treatment to some extent, because if these persons were in their right mind, I don't think they'd choose to be on the street like they are. And so I don't know where that got, because we haven't heard anything. But the other piece of that was a very simple thing, that Medicaid would be automatically given when a person wins SSI or disability. It is not in the state of Indiana. And Senator Simpson was upset because she said 5 years ago, we passed that law. And so the Family and Social Services had to answer, well, there's this little clause, and I do not understand where it came from, but there's a clause in the law, or in the state, I guess, decided that there's this clause, Indiana's a 209B state. All that means is they can add eligibility criteria to what the federal government's already put there. So that means it's, to my way of thinking, that's a little loophole where we don't have to spend the money on somebody's Medicaid. But if a person has SSI, that's $623 right now, soon to be $637. Now you want to pay $500 for rent. You get maybe 10, 50, I don't know what the number of food stamps is. I suppose it depends, and I don't know what those laws are. Then you got to pay for your phone, maybe, so you can call your doctor, and you got to get some clothes once in a while and some personal items, and so you don't have money for your medication. Duh. So we're trying to say, do that so that they have money for their medication, and so that they can stay stable. But, you know, so I don't know where all that is at the moment. I have a call into Pete Misklowski's office, and they're researching right now what happens to Indiana, because FSSA couldn't tell the senators what happens if Indiana relinquishes 209B status. So we're trying to find that out for them. That's an example of the advocacy that we're talking about. The laws that need to be changed, all right. So when is it a law that somebody can't go down to the store and buy their own toilet paper?
Because that's a problem. If you have to choose between whether you will eat or buy your medicine, or rather you will have shelter or buy your medicine. That's a huge problem.
And working people have that same problem because they don't have insurance.
Yeah.
So.
And so what can we do who have heard the message, who have heard the status of homeless people in America where opportunities abound for some? What can we do to help make the conditions better on a local level, state level, or even federal level?
Right, and maybe all of the above.
Yes.
I think one of the things that has to happen is that housing programs have to increase. The number of Section 8 vouchers have to increase, because when you look at Gary and surrounding area, we have a disproportionate number of people who need Medicaid, who need SSI, who need housing, okay? And even with Edgewater, they don't get the funding they need, I don't think, to cover the numbers of people they serve, okay? So that's another issue. But housing, supportive housing programs, okay, like the one Catholic Charities runs called Gateway, that's just about full, all right? So we need more supportive housing programs for those who are suffering with chronic mental illness or addiction, or young people who were just, quote unquote, emancipated from the foster care system, okay? Don't you love the term? Yeah. And then they're just dumped out there, and then where's the housing? Or for people who are released from prison and there's no reentry program. You know, we need those kinds of programs big time if we look for stability in housing. We need the insurance programs for working people, much less for people who get SSI and disability. Because so then there are huge expenses to emergency rooms.
Right, because indirectly it affects us all on some level.
Correct.
Directly, do we call, do you write?
You write, you call, you get on board as far as what's the legislation happening right now. Come to one of the Continuum of Care meetings that are held on the, I want to say the second Thursday at IUN at 10 o'clock. All the agencies that deal with homelessness in the area meet, and we discuss, you know, what are the next programs, who's got a program that we could, the hoops you have to go through to get federal funding for these programs are ridiculous, but they go through them so that we can get federal dollars to come into Gary so that we can provide these kinds of programs. But it's never enough. So we need to write to the Pete Visklowski, who's definitely on the page. We need to write to Earlene, who's definitely on the page, to Charlie, to Vernon Smith, to all our representatives and say, these are some of the things we're becoming aware of. What can we do? Okay? And talk to hospital people, agency people.
Yes, well, I thank you so very much. You said a statement prior to our recording that we all live out our purpose in different ways. And so I encourage each person who has viewed this conversation, dialogue of sorts, to find out how you can, one, live out your own purpose in life, but also how you can help other people, women, children, men, who may be homeless, who may need your help.